Hello and welcome to Hot Issues. This week we are looking at the work of the Fair Wages and Salary Commission, and we'll be looking at the single spine salary structure, the history, the present and the future. We shall also be looking at the labor agitations, for better conditions of service, whether they are justified or not. Promises to be an exciting moment, and please keep your dial here. This is Hot Issues. We are very, very privileged to have with us in the studio Mr. Smith Graham, who happens to be the Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
What is the state of the implementation of the single spine salary structure now?
Thank you very much. Let me say that the pay policy has various phases. The salary structure is just one phase of the pay policy. And if we talk about the salary structure, at the moment we've completed the migration of the all institutions onto the single spine salary structure. We have some 3 institutions that we've written to government to take a decision on. One has to do with parliamentary service that are refusing to migrate because they claim there are some issues that has to be dealt with legally and constitutionally. The other one has to do with the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the third one has to do with the audit service. That also believe that by constitutional arrangement they are supposed to also have different ways of determining their salaries. We have officially written to government informing government that we have completed the migration, and therefore we want a decision to be taken on those 3 institutions for us to ensure that we then can complete all the institutions and migrate them onto a single spine salary structure.
What are these constitutional issues?
If you take a critical look, if you take the audit service, the Constitution names audit service as one of the Article 190 public service institutions. And we are supposed to work for all such public service institutions. At the same time, in the Constitution mentioned that if you take, for instance, the audit service, their conditions of service is supposed to be determined by the board in consultation with the Public Services Commission. That was what the Constitution mentioned. Now, if you go further and look at the functions of the Public Services Commission, it says that the functions of the Public Service Commission is as Parliament might be by law prescribed. And so Parliament came out with the Public Service Commission Act and came out clearly with the functions of the Public Service Commission, which at the time included determination of salaries and other benefits. Now, when the Fair Wage and Salaries Commission Act 737 was promulgated, these sections in the Public Service Commission Act was repealed. And so, the Public Service Commission has no such mandate to determine that because it has been repealed in their act. But the thinking is that once it was mentioned constitutionally, the name was mentioned, it means that there's nothing you can do about it until the Constitution is changed. And so the matter has been referred to the Attorney General's Department for advice. And then if you take the constitutional instrument also of the parliamentary service, it says that it is the parliamentary service board that is supposed to determine the salaries of parliamentary service staff. And so these are the issues that are some of the issues that have come up, and we are thinking that they are legal and constitutional issues, and so the Attorney General should be able to help us with the interpretation. We believe that the interpretation probably may be stretched beyond certain imaginations, but it's a constitutional issue, so we'll depend on the advice of the Attorney General.
But don't you also think that these are commonsensical issues? Because strictly speaking, your work is not the kind of work that goes on, at the bargaining table, collective bargaining and so on. It's much more than that.
Yeah. You are right, and for instance, I've argued that once these institutions were mentioned in the parliamentary in the Constitution as Article 190, and our law allows that. And again, if you also look at the fact that some of them the law itself establishing them also mention the certain function that has been repealed, then the thinking is that automatically they don't have those functions to be able to determine that. But people are dragging the issues because it appears they are very uncomfortable with the sort of arrangement that we are putting in place to ensure that we achieve what the Constitution wants us to achieve. If that is not done, then I'm afraid what is going to happen is that we will still have institutions who will fall outside Article 124 of the Constitution. Article 24 wants us to pay everybody equal pay for the equal work that they do. You can only do that when you have really established the values of those jobs and then determine their salaries based on that. And if they are not coming in and they want to stay outside and do whatever they want to do, then what it means is that they are not going also by this clause in the Constitution. That is my thinking so far as legally, although I'm not a lawyer. But I think that if even that is not done now, it's our expectation that the Independent Emolument Commission that has been proposed will now also come in, and once that is going to determine the salaries of everybody, including the president, then nobody will have the opportunity to say that they are hiding under the Constitution, because it will be a constitutional amendment and a constitutional institution.
Now, if you have finished the migration, why do we have still a lot of agitation on the labor front with regards to your work?
You recall that, as I mentioned, we have 4 phases of the implementation. One has to do with the salary structure. Now, with the salary structure, what we were supposed to do was to migrate all the 135 plus institutions that had different salary structures onto one salary structure. That is the phase. We also had a phase that we are supposed to ensure.
That's the phase we have completed.
That's the phase we have completed.
Okay.
Now, there are other phases which include, for instance, the harmonization and standardization of allowances. Because you have a situation where in one organization, the 2 of us are all directors. I travel to Kumasi, and the out of station that is given to me is, say, 40 Ghana cedis. You travel to Kumasi and you are given out of station allowance 300 Ghana cedis. You are all directors. The expectation is that you are supposed to live in a certain standard of hotel in Kumasi. Why will one take 40 and one take 300? And so, as part of this policy, we are supposed to standardize and harmonize them. But some are still interested, although we've not gotten there yet and we are working on it. And having migrated them, then they now look at the other phases that we are yet to move on to and make demands on those phases. So some of the agitation had to do with these categories 2 and 3 allowances. Some also has to do with the fact that some of the institutions are still not comfortable because they fear that the single spine in a way had disadvantaged them, which is not so. Because I don't believe that a single spine has disadvantaged any group. If it has, you feel disadvantage, it probably means that you had a certain advantage in the past, which this system has come to correct. And once the system is correcting inequities in the system, then you will agree with me that it means that in the inequity, there are some who have probably benefited from those inequities and some who are heavily disadvantaged. So those who are heavily disadvantaged may be happy. Those who are benefited from the inequities, because there will be a system in place to check their progression, if I should say so far as salaries are concerned, they may not be very comfortable with it. And as human as we are, they will try to fight the system. In the past, they would have agitated, and when they agitated, because there were no such legal bodies in place, the various ministers, political leadership would take one decision or the other. And that was what was bringing about the disparities. But now there's a legal body that has to deal with all these issues. So that legal body cannot just get out because you've threatened strike or because you've gone on strike to take a decision in your favor. We have to look at the implications of whatever decisions we take on the broader public service and as to whether it will help us in achieving the equity that we want to establish or want to perpetuate the inequity. So these are the issues we look at, and some are still not comfortable, and so the agitations are, for me, expected.
But you have said repeatedly that no group of workers will be disadvantaged as a result of the migration. So how come that some people will feel disadvantaged?
Nobody is disadvantaged, and I will repeat, nobody is disadvantaged. And
how come that some people would feel that the migration has led to a situation in which they don't have a fair deal?
I'll give you a practical example. Let's take the medical officers. They were on the Ghana Universal Salary Structure, which was similar to what we are doing now. And then they were enjoying the Ghana Universal Salary Structure and at the same time enjoying what we call the additional duty hour allowance. The additional hour duty allowance became unsustainable for government. And so government eventually had to do something about it. What happened? Government then introduced the health service salary structure for the health sector and consolidated this additional duty hour allowance into their salary and gave it to them. What technically government had done at the time was that you've added an allowance to their basic salary and paying even social security on it. So the basic salary they were taking at the time had the component of the extra hours in it. So government was paying social security on it, which is unconstitutional because we are all supposed to work for 40 hours. The extra hours you do is an allowance and you are supposed to be taken care of. And it was not right for government to pay social security on extra hours, but it was done in the past. Now we have a single spine salary structure which is using the 40 hours as a basis. So if it uses the 40 hours as a basis, what is going to happen, for instance, is that the basic salary will reduce because it's now the 40 hours not taking into consideration the extra hours. And because we were also not ready to go into the extra hour process because we needed some transition to go into the extra hours, we decided to introduce what we call the interim market premium to them using the extra hours as a proxy. Now the argument is that once we gave them this new arrangement, their social security has reduced. Has it really reduced? Technically, you may say yes. But if you look at it, the social security they were taking previously included an allowance, which was an illegality, which this new system has come to correct. You see, and we have given you the interim market premium, and if even you add it to the basic salary and you put the two together, that too is far more than what you were even taking previously. But they are still insisting that we need to give them what we call the conversion difference. And because the argument is that conversion difference means that if the salary you were enjoying previously was higher than the salary you are supposed to enjoy under the single spine, the difference is paid to you as conversion difference. It technically means grandfathering, as we were said in the past, so that we grandfather you for some time. We didn't use the grandfathering for the health sector for one reason. If you go and grandfather them, after taking away the 40 hours, the difference is not an extra salary, it is the extra hours they were doing. And if you go and grandfather them and you want to deduct that money from it with time for others to catch up with it, it means that it's the extra hours that you are deducting. That is why we felt that if we do that, then we would have disadvantaged them. And so we rather created the interim market premium so that when they add the two to it, they will get what they were supposed to get. And so if you add the interim market premium to your previous, to the single spine basic salary, and the two is more than what you were taking previously, we have no need to grandfather you. Because your salary now is better than the previous one.
What is this grandfathering? What is it?
Grandfathering means that the two of us are supposed to earn a salary by a job evaluation process, are supposed to earn a salary of say 1,000 Ghana cedis. Before the new system came in, I was earning 800 Ghana cedis. I was not even earning the 1,000 Ghana cedis. You were earning 1,500 Ghana cedis. But technically, the two of us are supposed to receive the same salary, 1,000. So the grandfathering means that once we are supposed to earn 1,000, because I was earning 800 Ghana cedis, I will immediately go ahead and earn the 800 Ghana cedis, the 1,000 Ghana cedis. So technically, you will say that I've gained 200 Ghana cedis. You were already earning 1,500 more than you are supposed to earn. We don't want to say that earn the 1,000 Ghana cedis and we are taking away the 500 Ghana cedis. When we do that, the shock may be too much. It may also contravene some conventions that you cannot make somebody's conditions worse off and all that. So the decision will be that we will allow you to take the 1,500. So if the following year the single spine salary increases to say 1,200, mine will move to the 1,200. You will still be taking the 1,500, but the 5,500 will be 1,200 of what you are supposed to earn, and the grandfathering amount, which we now refer to as conversion difference, of 300. So you will mark time until I get to the 1,500 when the two of us will now move together. Technically, you have enjoyed the money in advance, and so it's just a sort of arrangement that is like somebody has loaned money to you and is now deducting the money. That is what technically it means. So you remain there until those who are supposed to be on the same level with you, their salary catches up with you, and you all move together. That is what the conversion difference or the grandfathering means.
I see. Now, all of this work, how is it different from previous institutions like the Prices and Incomes Board?
The Price and Income Board's job, I believe, goes further than what we are doing now. At that time, they were not only looking at the public service, they were looking at all the institutions in the country. They were looking at all the prices and then also incomes. And what will happen is that one will go and negotiate their conditions of service. Then after that, they will bring you to the Price and Income Board. They will look at it and say, look, yours, what you have put in there is too high. If you put in this and you are taking this, you will not be able to pay dividend to government or this, that, so you have to reduce it. But it will happen at a time when, excuse me, they've already negotiated. And so when that happens, you realize that the agitations will be because the person will say, I have gone to my management and negotiated. And so why are you not coming to reduce it? But this arrangement is totally different. One is it's dealing with only public servants. And then secondly, what this one is also doing is that you don't have the opportunity to now negotiate with your management. That responsibility of negotiating is with the employer, and the employer is Government of Ghana. And Government of Ghana previously hived that responsibility and gave it to management of the various institutions to do that on their behalf. Now by law, government says that I have an institution, Fair Wage and Sales Commission. I want them to do that on my behalf. So we are now doing the negotiations on behalf of government. And that is the slight extension that exists between the current arrangement and the Price and Income Board, for instance. But the arrangement is very similar to the Ghana Universal Salary Structure. The only difference is that during the Ghana Universal Salary Structure, we didn't have a legal body like Fair Wage and Sales Commission. There were ad hoc bodies that were supposed to see whether people have difficulties and all that. And so that ad hoc body was operating. Subsequently, it still had the opportunity for politicians to also take certain decisions here and there. And again, a lot of unions felt that it was going to take away their right to collective bargaining, and so they pulled out. And so it didn't make the Ghana Universal Salary Structure achieve the objective it had to achieve. But now, thank God, all the unions are on board, and we've managed to put in place arrangement that does not give them the impression that we've taken away their negotiating right, because they are still able to negotiate with us, either as a joint standing negotiation committee or as an independent trade union.